Happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone. It's a fun day for us today. We are 5 days into our Once Upon a Read-a-Thon fundraiser, and it's just going to be such a fun month. We're really excited. And this week is actually Teacher Appreciation Week, which is even more special to us, even though every day is Teacher Appreciation Day at the book fairies. We do want to mention that as well. And if you still want to get involved with the Read-a-Thon, you can still do that. We'll put a link in the Facebook post, and you go to our website and you can create a page or even just make a donation. We're super excited for our reader today. While his book that he's going to be reading is for 7 to 11-year-olds, I have to say that it's for 7 to 70-year-olds. I absolutely loved it, and I think anybody will truly enjoy the book that he's going to be reading today. Let me introduce you to Charles Smith Jr. He's an award-winning author, photographer, and poet with more than 30 books to his credit. His awards include a Coretta Scott King Award for his photographs accompanying the Langston Hughes poem, My People, and Coretta Scott King Honor for his biography on Muhammad Ali, 12 Rounds to Glory. Charles is going to be reading his book, Jimmy, Song for Jimmy. It's the story of guitar legend Jimi Hendrix. And it's also, I have to mention, it's illustrated by Adele Rodriguez. Welcome, Charles, and I can't wait to dig into this because I loved it.
Yes, excuse me. Thank you so much for having me here for the Read-a-Thon, especially during Teacher Appreciation Week. All the teachers out there, I definitely appreciate all that you do. I'm sure you've been hearing that, but I want you to hear it from me because the books that I create, I want to make sure that you have the tools that you need to get those readers that do not want to read, get them reading. So with that, I'm going to get started with one of my favorite people.
I'm going to, Charles, I'm going to let you do what you do. I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to let you, I'll come back on when you're done.
Okay, beautiful.
Thanks.
Thanks so much. I'm going to introduce you to one of my favorite people that I've ever done a book about. Whenever I do a book, the goal is to introduce people to somebody they may not have known about, or if they do know about them, learn more about their stories. So with that, let's get to Jimmy. He's right up here in my little office. So first of all, I got to shout out the illustrator, Adele Rodriguez, because first of all, I mean, he just killed it on the art, killed it. And Holiday House, the publisher, who just killed it on the design and the little freebies, because the book cover actually turns into a poster. So take a look at that. That is super cool. So if anybody out there gets the book, you're getting a free poster with it because that's what's in that's the book cover. So with that, I'm going to share with you some of Jimmy. I'm not going to read every single line because it is a pretty long book. Some things I'll shorten up a little bit. And then if you have a question as I'm reading, put it down in the chat. And then when we get to the end, we'll cover it. All right. I'm also not going to show every single page because that's a copyright thing. You can't show every single page often. But again, shout out to Holiday House, my publisher, and shout out to Adele Rodriguez. So let's start it off with verse 1, Jimmy's Blues. Let me tell you a story about a boy who became a man, a guitar man named Jimmy. Now, with his magic left hand, this guitar man could strum silver strings and conjure a rainbow of sound that screeched past the stars, echoed off the moon, and earthquaked planet Mars. Yeah! Jimmy was far out, but dig, Jimmy wasn't born with that magic left hand. So let's rewind in time to when his life began. Such a page. I mean, that artwork. Like, come on, it's just so good. Let's rewind back to 1942, November 27, when Jimi Hendrix was born as baby Johnny Allen. That's right, Johnny Allen. But in 3 years, he became James Marshall when Daddy changed his boy's name. The first change of many, and soon after that, everyone called him Jimmy. Now, Jimmy kept to himself. No, he didn't much speak. Some thought he was deaf. The boy acted so meek. Now I'm going to part off a little bit off of what's written and consolidate a little to consolidate the next few pages. So even though Jimmy was afraid to speak, he was not mute. He could actually speak. People didn't think he could speak, but he could. He was just so basically traumatized from the household that he was in, listening to his mother and his father fighting all the time, until basically her mom just got fed up with it and decided to leave. And that broke his heart. You know, you're a young boy and your mom just decides to leave. Now, Jimmy didn't have his family didn't have very much money. So his family, he bounced around a lot, and he suffered what I would call the blues. The book is called Song for Jimmy because it's written like a song. And this chapter is called Jimmy's Blues, because it shows how the early stages of his life and the rough things that he went through, how that would propel him to pick up a guitar. So Jimmy lived the blues. Oh yeah, Jimmy lived the blues, from his tattered family tree to his cardboard soled shoes. But buried deep beneath his beat up family tree were roots made strong by the blood of Cherokee. Warrior roots from his grandmother, they gave Jimmy strength. So Jimmy taught himself to draw what his words couldn't say, and each picture that boy drew blew his blues away. Here's the picture. Now I give you a quick, super quick story about how this book came about. When I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for an award that I had gotten, I was excited to see Jimmy's exhibit. And what I saw were, in addition to jackets and guitars and stuff like that, was these drawings. And that's what inspired the book, actually, because we think of people as a finished product. We don't think, how did they get there? And so when I saw these drawings and I thought of a young Jimmy, that's what inspired the book. Let's keep going. But Jimmy's imagination really began to bloom when he listened to the radio and strummed along with his broom. Elvis, Little Richard, Muddy Waters, and Buddy Holly, B.B. King, John Lee Hooker, and Big Bill Broomsey all filled Jimmy's ears with their guitar sound, a sound so sweet that soon Jimmy found his fingers plucking every day and every night with that broom, And soon Jimmy began to dream his broom was a guitar. Then Jimmy began to dream he was a guitar superstar. And there's that picture. So if you notice, this picture, him strumming the broom, is very similar to the opening picture with him as a guitar star. Now, basically, Jimmy just kept playing that broom, and then he graduated to a little ukulele, and then he graduated to a little acoustic guitar. And every single time that he practiced, he just kept practicing more and more and more. But he was a natural lefty. But his father thought, if you're a lefty, something might be a little wrong with you. So every time it sounds silly, but that was the case. So every time his dad walked into the house, Jimmy would flip the guitar the other way and start playing it like a regular right-hand guitar player. And before he knew it, he could play the guitar with both hands. And not many people could do that, but he could. So we have Jimmy teaching himself to draw. We have him teaching himself and playing fake guitars. And he had that passion, but ultimately he carried that sadness, that blues from his mother leaving. And ultimately, when his mother passed away, his father didn't make it very easy for him. But at the age of 15, Jimmy's eyes opened wide when he learned that his mama, Lucille, had died. Yeah, Lucille died, and Jimmy cried, Jimmy cried. Jimmy's wide eyes dripped tears like the gray Seattle sky. And oh, how Jimmy's tears did flow for Lucille, his mama, because Jimmy loved his mama so. But when his daddy said no and wouldn't let him go see his mama off to heaven, it pained Jimmy so. I say it broke his heart so. But all that hurt and all that pain and all those tears that flowed like rain became sounds for Jimmy, trapped in his head, sounds exploding in fire bright red, sounds that can echo to the furthest star, sounds he can unleash with his guitar. Now, this was important to show that the pain of his mother basically caused this quietness in him, but there was a fire inside and he needed to let it out. So he needed a guitar. Verse 2, red hands. Plink, plink, plink. Jimmy plinked that one string until his world changed. One day at 16, Jimmy's first guitar, Jimmy's first real guitar, a white Supro Ozark electric guitar. That's right, a guitar given to him by Daddy, his very own guitar, and it made Jimmy happy, like Christmas morning times 5 kind of happy. And that guitar became a voice for Jimmy's soul, and that guitar made Jimmy's broken life whole. Because at that moment, all of those bad things that was happening to Jimmy that was trapped inside of him, now he had some way to unleash that with the guitar. But unfortunately, if you've ever played a guitar, you know that when you play a guitar, you don't really hear anything, an electric guitar at least. You don't really hear anything, you just kind of hear this. You need an actual amp. So he needed to join a band, and he found a band called the Rockin' Kings, and they had an amp so he could do his thing. Now, Jimmy was in 9th grade, but school wasn't his thing. See, he got an F in music because school just wasn't his scene. And his music teacher said he should give up the guitar thing. That's right, his teacher said he should give up on his dream. But Jimmy practiced hard, and Jimmy practiced long, and every day Jimmy learned a new song. That's right, every day he learned a new song. Jimmy's sound was raw. Jimmy's sound was wild. But Jimmy was determined to find his own style. So Jimmy became a musical sponge, absorbing a little something from everyone. And here's a spread for that. Again, awesome pictures, can't say enough. From sax players, he learned to swoop and soar over the rhythm section to move feet on the dance floor. From bluesmen, he studied their show-stopping tricks, like playing behind his back with lightning quick flicks. And so when Jimmy played to small assorted crowds, he imitated his idols by playing hard and loud. Round, 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 yeah! He imitated his idols by playing with lots of flash, causing Jimmy and his own bandmates to clash. Then Jimmy began to steal the spotlight, taking solos and plucking like a wild man every night. With feathers on his guitar, you know, Jimmy was quite a sight. Who is this cat playing with his left hand? Everyone asked when Jimmy took the stand. But at the end of each set, they all knew Jimmy's name. They knew his left hand could flicker like a flame. And this is one of my favorites. One of my favorites. So many, and that's one of them. Let's keep going. So at this point, basically, Jimmy is learning to play the guitar. He's ready to basically drop out of school because he moved around so much and he was devoted. He was all in on playing the guitar. So he had to make a decision. What was he going to do? His father had served in the Army years before, and he was a paratrooper, meaning he jumped out of planes and parachuted in. So Jimmy thought, I want to do that. I want to join the military and follow in my father's footsteps. He thought that that would give him a chance to play more guitar and get a little freedom away from his family. And I'll just show you one of the pictures. I'll show you the picture from there. So this was probably the most interesting fact that I learned about Jimmy, was that not only was he in the military, but that he was a paratrooper. And the fact that a lot of the sounds, they came from when he was jumping out of airplanes. As you can see in that one, another one of my favorite pictures, verse 3, sunshine yellow. 18 in the Army, miles from home, Jimmy was free and finally on his own. Basic training in California, then off to become a screaming eagle in Kentucky, where he would learn to jump from. Planes that pierced clouds in the ocean blue sky, whole high in the heaven where Jimmy could fly. The roar of the plane and the shh of the wind filled Jimmy's eardrums with inspiration. Back on the ground, Jimmy searched for that sound. Jimmy picked at his guitar for that plane rattling sound. Soon, Jimmy became known as that guitar playing freak, and his bunkmates began to taunt and tweak and tease and test and steal and hide Jimmy's guitar for some peace and quiet. See, every night Jimmy went to sleep in his bed with his guitar and plucked the sounds in his head. So already Jimmy's having a hard time being an individual. All he wants to do is play his guitar. But when he goes up in the plane and he hears all these great sounds, he wants to find those sounds on the guitar. So he constantly plays the guitar, much to the dismay of his bunkmates. And they harassed him. And pretty soon he was no longer in love. Not that he was always in love with being in the army. He wanted the freedom more than anything. But it was a quick, actually not slow, it was a quick time that he served in the army because he realized right away that it just wasn't for him. So there was a fellow soldier in the army that served with him who played bass, and they became friends and they started their own band. And Jimmy was able to get honorably discharged from the army. And when he and his buddy left, they moved to Nashville, seeking their musical dreams. So let's see. Here we go. So this is another one of my favorite spreads. As you hear me say another favorite spread, it's because there's so many. Now, Jimmy could play. Oh yeah, Jimmy could play. But when he asked the old bluesmen for advice, they would say, "Slow down, boy, slow that hand down. Use them long fingers of yours to shape your own sound. See, what you need is some mud on your boots and a little more control. To play them blues, boy, you got to play from your soul. To play them blues, see, you got to walk that walk. I say to play them blues, you got to make that guitar talk." Now, this came from bluesmen that Jimmy was working for. When they would come through Nashville, he would get gigs, work, as what they called a side musician. Basically, sometimes they need somebody in the band, play an instrument. They didn't have a guitar player, so he would often play. And that's what they taught him. They taught him, slow down. You don't need to go so fast. If you want to play the blues is all about feeling. And Jimmy's lived the blues, but he had to learn how to express that through his music. So thus, his journey to becoming a full musician began. So Jimmy hit the road, guitar in hand, traveling band to band across the land, over through Virginia, down to Texas and Florida, back to Tennessee, to Kentucky and Indiana, Arkansas, Kansas City, Missouri, and Atlanta, Georgia. With his guitar, Jimmy learned lots of tricks, like playing blindfolded, teeth scratching licks. Jimmy used his long fingers to hold high notes so sweet, and Jimmy's guitar spoke like a bird learning to tweet. And when that bird returned home to his nest in Tennessee, Jimmy spread his wings again and flew off to NYC. That's right. So he started in Seattle, went to the Army in Kentucky, went to Nashville to work as a musician, traveled around with a lot of musicians, and then moved to New York City. And this is where we get. With blues in his heart, fire in his hand, and mud on his boots, Jimmy stood as a man. Age 21, free as can be, a mannish boy in Harlem, NYC. But in Harlem, Jimmy was a curiosity, a wild-haired peacock bopping to his own beat. See, Jimmy hummed to himself, walking down the street, and with that guitar on his back, he was laughed at endlessly. And then there's the next one. But then people realized that Jimmy could actually play. He didn't just look weird. He could actually play guitar. The problem was, as a Black guitar player playing in Harlem, he was expected to play soul music. And so when he got side jobs, he worked for a lot of soul musicians. But whenever he was given a chance for a solo, he would jump into his rock and roll riffs. And this drove the R&B and the soul groups crazy. So Jimmy didn't last very long in Harlem. So he swooped downtown, where it was a different kind of scene, more hippies and not quite hippies just yet, actually, because they weren't around just yet, but a scene that was more folk music, alternative rock. It was a lot of different things that wasn't R&B and soul. So Jimmy gravitated downtown, and he had a much better he had much better success because people were really interested in hearing what he had to say and play. Let's see. So he found a home at a particular club. They really liked what he was doing, and so he became a regular there. Then a friendship began and blossomed with the fan. And that fan knew folks that could give Jimmy a hand. But to those folks, Jimmy was way too raw until a pair of eyes couldn't believe what they saw. On stage stood a peacock speaking through his guitar, and a pair of ears knew that peacock could be a star. Those eyes and those ears happened to belong to a big producer looking to make a hit song. He already had the song, but needed a musician. And there before his eyes stood a guitar magician, a sonic tactician, a Picasso with the pick, painting in the blues tradition. So he invited Jimmy to London to record, and with no cage to hold him, Jimmy flew across the shore. Now, at this point, I should also point out that as I'm reading the book, like, you can only hear me. So when you hear Jimmy, you think Jimmy, the way it's actually spelled. But the whole time that I've been reading it, it's Jimmy, Jimmy, the regular spelling that he was using as his stage name. But as he was on the plane going across to London, the producer said, I think you should change your name, make it a little different, make it a little more exotic. So he dropped one of the M's and replaced the Y with an I and became Jimmy. Now, when he got to England, people had respect for this producer. So anything that he said, they were going to take it seriously. And he said, I have this guy that's just going to blow you all away. And he did. So if any of you out there like the guitar and you're not saying Jimmy is the best, well, all of the people that you may think are the best or were the best at that time, they looked at Jimmy as the best. So once they heard him, they were like, oh my goodness, we can't compete with that. And thus, Jimmy's story really began to take off in Europe. He started in London and England, played all throughout the United Kingdom, which would be Scotland and Ireland as well, traveled throughout Europe to France, Italy, Germany, all over Europe, and began making a name for himself. Until one day he made such a name for himself that the Beatles, Paul McCartney of the Beatles, somebody had asked him for a recommendation for this event that they were doing in California, and they needed a finisher. They needed a big show-stopping finish. And Paul McCartney, without hesitation, recommended the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Let's see. Yes. But dig, back home in America, no one knew Jimmy's name. But once the album came out, that would soon change. See, Jimmy received a life-changing invite that involved a musical festival and an overseas flight. The 3-day festival needed a show-stopping finish, so one of the Beatles recommended the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Yeah, Jimmy stood as a groovy genius on the strings, just 10 years removed from his broom at age 14. Now, age 24, Jimmy's star would shoot higher when he touched down in California to set America on fire. So now we go to the big finish. So this one is meant to be this called outro song for Jimmy. So I sing it like a song. This is at the Monterey Pop Festival in Monterey, California. Peacock loud, black and proud, standing out from the crowd. Jimmy flicks his fingers over silver strings, then hits a high note till it screams, look out. No one before you ever did what you do the way that you do that groovy guitar voodoo. No one before you could play the style that you do when you unleash that funky, freaky, groovy guitar voodoo. Hey! And then we come to the big finish, the interlude. Now let me break it down. Dig. Jimmy was a wild thing on the guitar strings, and those folks in Monterey never heard such a display when Jimmy fried their ears with his white-hot guitar play. But Jimmy wasn't done. Oh no, he wasn't done. The crowd had no idea of what was to come. Yeah, Jimmy pulled out all his show-stopping tricks, behind the back, between the legs, teeth plucking licks. But Jimmy topped himself when he dropped to the ground and knocked notes on his guitar, then held on to the sound, gave his guitar one last kiss, and with the quick match strike, Jimmy set his guitar on fire with flames flickering bright. Then Jimmy smashed that guitar as tribal drums kept beating, and Jimmy's guitar held that high note, amplified and screeching like a Cherokee warrior screeching a fierce battle cry as Jimmy showed the world how to kiss the sky. Yeah! The end. So thanks for joining. Thanks for reading that, or I hope you enjoyed it. Now I'm going to get some questions.
Yes, I was so entertained, I forgot to turn my video back on. I love the passion in which you read this. It's what I want to say about this book is that I hear all the time at work that, some people, I'm not a reader or whatever. I feel like, and we say it all the time, is that, people need to find what they love to read, and then they'll be interested in reading it. And I know that this book will create some readers. I really do. It's so entertaining. It's so different. There's just a multitude of great things about it. So thank you for writing it. It's amazing. Let me just see some of the questions. First of all, it's incredible how the artwork moves nicely with the words you received, including translating the sounds into visuals. Did you have any say in the illustrations? Did you have any did you tell them what you wanted, or?
No, I mean, in general, the way it works is the writer writes, you think of it like a movie. The writer is the screenwriter. They don't direct, they don't hire the actors or anything. They just literally write the story. Mm-hmm. Then the illustrator brings their professional talent to illustrate it with the same professionalism. So we really don't talk. Basically, you have to write it in such that the illustrator has something to work with. And what the words that Edel has said is he was able to get those images because it's right there in the words. And as a writer, that's what you want. You want to write something that it's very visual already, and then that somebody that has that skill can just bring it to life.
They're amazing. Actually, teacher Ruth Levantis said that the illustrations are amazing. The kids in the class are loving them. Her question is, who was the person Jimmy started the band with?
The band was what was his name? Buddy Miles. That's who he started the band with when he was in the military. Okay. And then when he got into Harlem, one of the groups that he played for was the Isley Brothers. So many people know them for their R&B and soul.
They're right. We notice all the rhyming words. Thanks. What were your hopes to get that people would take out of this book about Jimmy, or just?
I think the big thing was when we think of creative individuals, musicians, actors, particularly musicians, we don't think of how they got good at that craft and how long they had that dream or that belief. It was important for me to mention that he was so into his guitar playing that his teacher in ninth grade is like, you're never going to make it as a guitar player. It was important for me to mention that, not to belittle teachers by any means whatsoever, because I've had teachers tell me, you're going to be great. But it was more to show that it didn't matter what anybody said to him. He believed in himself. And I wanted to show how hard he worked to manifest, to make that belief come true.
Yeah, never give up on yourself, even if other people are trying to squelch your fire, squelch your dream. Don't let them put that, that spark out. Keep going. That is incredible. What tips do you have for young writers?
I have 3.
Okay.
Read a lot, write a lot, live a lot. You read a lot, you have words that make it easy for you to write. You write, you put into practice what you've read. And when you live, you develop your own stories and your own experiences. And those 3 things will make you a better writer, and not just a better writer, but a better person. You don't have to become a writer for those 3 things to help you in your life.
That's great. One of the students, Tiana, wants to know, was it difficult to write the rhyme of the words? They seem to flow so easily.
Yeah, that's my job, to make the difficult look easy. So it wasn't easy for me, but when I read it, for you guys, it should be easy.
Yeah, it does look easy. I mean, you're making something really hard look easy. So before we leave, I want to get an idea of what's up next for you. And I know that we can reach you. Tell us where we can reach you. There's amazing teachers out there that I'm sure would love to have you in their
Yes.
classroom. So
Yes. So to celebrate the end of Teacher Appreciation Week, tomorrow, Friday, May 6th, I will be doing a live stream at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on my YouTube channel, where I'm taking questions. You can go to my Twitter account at CRS Junior, CRSJR. Ask me a question on Twitter, at me in the question, so I know it. And I will be reading those questions on live on the live stream. And I will be performing and reading from a couple of my most recent books, including Hoop Kings 2 and Blackjack.
okay.
But mainly, I just want to let teachers pick my brain as an author and an illustrator, because I do photography and a poet. I want them to be able to pick my brain so that they can learn about my books. Here's some of my poems. If you come on and you say, hey, can you do a poem from blah, 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 then I might do that too. You know, I want to show love to the teachers out there.
And inspire the children that are coming up and need, they've been through, we're coming out of a pandemic, and they need some fun, good, exciting, hopeful opportunities. And I think you provide all of that. I thank you so much for your time here today. We're just starting.
If the teachers can't make it live, that's okay. Live streams are still recorded, so it'll still be up on my YouTube channel. But if
And
you
your
get the
YouTube channel, what's your
Yes.
YouTube channel?
My YouTube channel, you just go to YouTube, Charles R. Smith Jr.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you so much. And I also want to thank, we have some amazing sponsors, but our top sponsor is Marlon Security, PC Richard, Amazon, Hofstra University, Investors Bank, Sereni and Associates. We have so many of them. Please check out our website, and also check out our Classy page for our fundraiser, because we want to give them as much recognition as possible. And thank you. We hope that you'll consider coming back next year, because this is an annual event. It's a month-long literacy promotion awareness fundraising event. So we hope that you'll consider coming back.
Beautiful, for sure.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone out there, the teachers and the students. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.